Hello all, this is Dr. Dave Maslach talking to you about reciprocity.com. The E is written with a 3, and in this particular video I want to talk to you about 5 things to know about becoming a professor. So if you don't know me, I am a associate professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship, and I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There were so many people that helped me out that I wanted to pay the favor for it and help you out. All right, so this is my own personal journey. So you might have these experiences, you might not, but this is kind of normal stuff that I think most of us go through, and these things are really common. And it happened to me when I started my doctorate when I was 25. And it's likely going to happen to you if you're doing this and you're becoming a professor or going along the journey. So, the first thing that's going to happen to you is you're going to realize that you actually don't know a lot about the world around you. And then when you actually go and study this stuff, you realize that there's lots of different smart people out in the world that have studied different topics and studied very sort of similar things. The other thing that you're going to realize is that the science that we have, or the knowledge that we have, is really incredibly imperfect, and it's not all that good, and there's always room for improvement. And the reason is that there's many different ways that you can study a topic. There's many different variables that you can sort of look at a particular thing, and there's so many different angles and ways to study something that you can end up studying it for your entire life, one little tiny thing. And there'll be generations of people studying the same sort of thing, and we actually don't know a lot about that particular topic. And even when there's consensus from many different people about a particular topic, you'll realize that there's likely not strong consensus about it. And there's just so many different ways that you can study something, and it just takes a lot. And the other thing is that there's a lot of different smart people. As kind of a corollary with this, is there's a lot of smart people that are probably far smarter than you, and you're going to interact with them, and you're going to have to learn how to deal with this in terms of interacting with people that just are far smarter than you. I interact with people every day at my institution, as well as people that are around the world that just know stuff that you're like blown away every single time, and I'm humbled every single time when I am interacting with them. And the reason is they just know a particular topic a little bit more than you do, and they're an expert in that particular area, or that they've been sort of doing it for a long time, so they develop a skill in that particular area, and they get really good at that, whatever that particular thing is. The second thing that, and this is kind of as a result of this sort of the change that you have, the sort of probabilistic nature of understanding science or understanding things around you, we don't have a very good sense of there's a lot of different things that are going on whenever you're studying something, and we try to do the best of our ability of sort of controlling for all these different factors and all these different things. But you begin to realize that there's many different decision points along the way, and you become very uncertain about your journey, and this is really normal. And when you're going to become uncertain about your doctoral journey, or PhD journey, is probably about 4 months into the PhD program. And then from there on in, you'll probably go through some sort of existential crisis of some sort, where you realize that I just don't know how to do this. And then after that, you sort of develop a coping mechanism. You're never really sure with the stuff that you're doing, but you develop coping mechanisms to sort of deal with this uncertainty or unsureness that you have, and you develop that over time, and it just becomes a little bit more of yourself. And so you begin to sort of doubt a lot of things, and that is totally normal as you're going through this process. And I don't know a single person that hasn't experienced that. And they, develop all sorts of different sort of techniques and coping mechanisms to deal with this. Some people become overtly, aggressive with their approaches with this. Other people become very, very uncertain and just can't sort of do different things. And it's just different ways that we deal with this. And so this is the third thing that I think that becoming a professor or getting your doctorate, just going and becoming a researcher or something along those lines, you actually begin to realize that it's a lot more of an emotional and sort of psychological journey than it is sort of an intellectual exercise. And it's up to you to control this emotional and psychological journey that you have. And, I'm not the only person that has sort of deals with this. I do see other people deal with this on a regular basis. And it's kind of one of the more challenging things that we have to deal with is the behavioral part of, of life and dealing with, controlling your ability to study and to keep moving forward with the PhD program and to become a professor. Some people are very good at this, comes naturally to them, and other people, they just really struggle at this. And I think that's normal to struggle at the sort of emotional and psychological parts of the PhD journey, and just realize that it's a really normal part of it. And if you're dealing with this at this moment, just realize it's normal, and you have to invest in developing yourself as a person to deal with some of these emotional and psychological parts, which means, maybe it is getting extracurricular activities, developing social bonds with other people, all those kind of things are incredibly important to the PhD journey. And that the parts where you're probably not going to do that well is on those particular moments when you're emotionally drained, or you have sort of bad experiences, and it really does get to you. And a lot of people have these experiences. So just work on that part. That's going to be the part that you have to invest in. That's why these videos are really helpful. For myself, it's also helpful for hopefully other people that are dealing with this. That there's lots of kind of these kind of parts that you have to deal with. It's not an intellectual exercise in any sort of way. It's like losing weight, right? It's you might think it's sort of a physiological thing, that losing weight is really just calories in, calories out. It's not at all, right? In losing weight, and maybe it is getting on an exercise regime. It's absolutely psychological. It's absolutely emotional. Dealing with all of those components are a lot more important, and a lot more of the reasons why you actually may be overweight, or you might have the physique that you don't necessarily want, right? So there's all those components that are incredibly important. The behavioral, the life part of it, it is really, really important, and you have to sort of manage that process of it. The fourth thing, and this is kind of related again, is that you are really criticized in all aspects of your life and career, and you have to manage that process of it. You have to manage those components of it in terms of the criticism that you receive, right? So when you're working on a paper, for example, you hand it to reviewers, you're going to get critiqued. That's negative feedback. You deal with students, unless you're an extraordinarily outgoing person, which probably most of us aren't, or maybe, a portion of us are and a portion of us aren't. Unless you're completely outgoing, you're likely going to have bad reviews and teaching reviews, and you have to deal and manage with that and sort of cope with that. And that is totally normal with the process, right? And so you have to sort of deal with those components. And the more that you deal with this criticism and you sort of manage that process, and again, we have coping techniques, ways of dealing with it. And the more that you actually deal with it, the better off you will be in terms of being able to cope and develop as a professor going forward. And the last thing that I've realized, and this is the fifth thing that I think is important, I know there's all these negative things I'm talking about, right? And a lot of the videos are sort of highlighting it and giving you tips and tricks on how to deal with these things. But most of us, and the people that become very successful with the career, they end up getting a tremendous amount of pleasure from just the work and just sitting down and sort of struggling with the pursuit of knowledge, whatever that is to you, right? So when I talk to people in terms of when you get to know people that are really successful with this career and they're doing well, they just love to escape from everything else around them and actually work and develop, maybe it's a new theory or a new idea. They like to just sit down and putter away with something, right? So you can imagine the people that do really well are the people that they like to go out to their workshop and whittle away. Like, you imagine yourself as carving wood, right? So my dad used to escape from the craziness of having 5 kids. by going out to his workshop, and he would escape and putter away at different things in his workshop. And you imagine yourself, if you like to do that and putter away with writing or developing ideas or analyzing data, those are the people that actually end up doing well in the long run, is when you can sort of just get pleasure from puttering away at something. And in those people are the ones that sort of love the career in the long run. In the short run, it's kind of like, ugh. But in the long run, you develop a passion for the career, because it is kind of fun to be able to sort of tinker away at different things that you just find inherently interesting, whatever that is. And it takes a while to develop those interests, but you do get to the point where you begin to develop those interests and you kind of understand what it's all about and what you are all about. As part of this whole reciprocity project, I get a kick out of doing these videos. And it's the reason why I've been able to do a lot of them, because I know that other people are getting a lot out of it. So that's it. That's what I wanted to talk about. These are the 5 different things you're probably going to know when you become a professor or you get your doctorate, whatever part of the stage you're at. So give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. I do appreciate it. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.